Let's talk about the big head coaching hire right now on Fantasy Football Today in 5. The Harbaughs will face off next year when the Chargers and Ravens meet, and Jim Harbaugh will be coaching the Los Angeles Chargers. He signs a 5-year deal, leaves Michigan after winning a national championship, and brings a ton of success to Los Angeles. What do you think from a fantasy perspective, Heath?
Well, listen, I think that we have a lot left to learn about the Chargers this offseason. They've got some interesting cap decisions to make with Mike Williams, with Keenan Allen. Austin Ekeler should be gone. They've got they got draft picks to make, and so they got an offensive coordinator to hire. But at first glimpse, they should be more competent. I'm not sure that I love it yet for fantasy purposes for Justin Herbert. Let's see what they're going to put around him.
All right, because Jim Harbaugh just has a reputation of just running into the football. I gave this stat on the main show, but in his 4 seasons as head coach of the 49ers, San Francisco was third, second, and 7th in run rate. It was a fairly similar story at Michigan.
And I think things like how they proceed with running back and who they hire as offensive coordinator, like they're going to give us some clues as to whether that continues or whether they want to keep throwing the ball 700 times a season.
Heath and I made DFS lineups, and they were almost exactly the same. So what's our thinking for DFS this weekend?
Our thinking is stack Brock Purdy with Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. Bring it back with Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown chasing the score. And then find some guys to play in that Chiefs-Ravens game. I went with Clyde, Rashee Rice, Zay Flowers, and the Chiefs defense.
And I also went with Rashee Rice and the Chiefs defense. I also went with Purdy, Ayuk, Kittle, and
Gibbs and St. Brown, right?
And Gibbs and St. Brown. The only difference is I had Jamison Williams and Justice Hill.
Right.
And you had, who were your 2 that were different?
Clyde and Zay Flowers.
Clyde and Zay Flowers. So that's pretty much it. That's the difference between our lineups. But we're thinking if you're going to stack a team, it should be the San Francisco 49ers this weekend in DFS. All right, I'm looking at just randomly here the mock draft we did just a couple of weeks ago, maybe even last week, and I'm just some questions for you. Do you think Nick Chubb should have been drafted ahead of Ken Walker and Ramondre Stevenson?
No, I'm going to be extremely skeptical of Chubb coming off of another major knee injury at his age. So I expect him to be in a committee next year. Listen, we kind of saw the range with Javonte Williams and Breece Hall of what it could be. But there's a lot more Javonte Williams than Breece Hall's, and especially at Chubb's age, I'm going to be skeptical. I don't think I would take him before round 6.
Do you think Ken Walker should have been drafted ahead of David Montgomery?
At this point, I do not. They're both in what I expect to be committees. Now, it's always interesting when you have a coaching change and you have 2 very talented players at the same position. We don't necessarily know who they're going to favor or how they're going to distribute touches, but I do expect Walker to share, and he's got enough injury concerns and coaching change concerns that I wouldn't.
You know what I think is a little underrated right now is Christian Kirk. I took him in the middle of round 6, right after Terry McLaurin went, just before George Pickens went. And he was pretty good with Calvin Ridley, and we don't even know if Ridley will be back next year.
Right. Yeah. I think the 2 things that we know is that Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram are going to have a big roles in this offense. We'll see who else they add. And we might be that like 1 of 2 things is going to happen. They're going to add a really big name and Christian Kirk's value going to lose some value, or people are going to wake up to the fact that Christian Kirk is still the number 1 wide receiver for Trevor Lawrence.
Brian Robinson went with a 3rd pick of round 7, right after Joe Mixon, just ahead of Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, obviously interesting. The only thing working against him right now is age. But Brian Robinson, we expect the offense to look pretty different in 2024. What do you think it means for Robinson? And do you think he has more potential than what we've seen?
I think he definitely has more potential than what we've seen, but it's also like very, very low guarantee that he is the starting running back for the Washington Commanders. He is not the level of running back where I think he is guaranteed to survive a coaching change. So it's going to be he's a wide range of outcomes kind of back. Round 7 sounds pretty good to me.
All right. That's Brian Robinson. And that is it for Fantasy Football Today in 5. Hope you all have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.